Used to dim my light to keep the peace. Now stomping boots that echo true. Banjo singing, bass line swinging, I'm the rhythm and the roar. Yeah. Our sun-kissed skin and a heart that's healed. I walk like freedom, I don't conceal. Fiddle flirts while the banjo grins. I'm the story where the joy begins. I cried, I danced, I prayed, I rolled. Now every step's what I was made for. I shine like a light, this way like I'm free. Baseline bumping with the soul of me. No chill, no filter, just truth in my tone. I'm a woman reborn in a vibe of my own. Banjo twanging like he knows my name. Drums got swagger, this ain't no game. I flip the script, I flip the table. Now I feast where I'm able. For the taste in my veins, I vibrate high. Country soul with the hip-hop sky. I'm the rhythm, the roar, the flame. Every beat I bless, every truth I claim. Nothing like I shine. This way like I'm free, this way like I'm free. Baseline bumping with the soul of me. No just truth in my tone, just truth in my tone. I'm a woman reborn, in a vibe of my own. This joy, it's earned, it's shine, it's mine. And I ain't dimming for nobody.
I want to welcome everybody to the War Room, a special day, October 29, 2025. We want to, as you can tell by the title tonight, we're going to be talking about Irish wisdom preserved in the Bible and in the pyramids and in other ancient structures in Ireland. And so we're going to connect some of the scriptures tonight with that go back to Irish
Wisdom.
Right. So we're breaking down the words. But glad to have everybody here. What's today? Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday?
Wednesday.
Is it Wednesday?
Hump day.
It's already hump day. Damn it. Missed Taco Tuesday. That's all good. We got hump day Wednesday. Tomorrow is the 33rd, 303rd day of the year, October 30th. Then we got Halloween coming up, right? A lot of things starting to take place here over this next week.
Yeah. Yep, sure does.
I want to welcome Glendia to the show tonight.
Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm doing great.
Glendia.
And everybody knows Nadine. There ain't no sense in.
Hi, Glendia. I'm glad she's here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here too.
I need you to put the crawling.
No what?
That's cook crawling.
So I'm gonna go ahead and get this party started. We're gonna crank it up. We're gonna have the links for this stuff in that we're gonna be presenting tonight in the description and the videos below. Also check out our sponsors, sheepdogspets.com.
Can you put that on the crawler, please?
And I'll put that on the crawler, but also the other links that were provided for all the other channels. You could, if you're on YouTube, subscribe to Rumble, and if you're on Rumble, subscribe to YouTube. And let's get this party started. Love and light, Hilda, what does this say? Sending y'all love and light and healing frequencies. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Alrighty, we're going to share from. Here we go. Is there anything else I missed before we get started on the show tonight? Anything that needs to be said? Any announcements? Anything? Nothing? Okay. All right, so tonight we're going to be talking about Ireland, of course. It's in the title. Egypt, Atlantis, Erie, like Lake Erie, like Missouri.
Because it was Erie for Ireland, right? Or
Yeah, they depict the mother over there with several like young, so she would like it would she would have several nipples. You thought Nadine seen the guy with 3 nipples. She has like 50, like 20 or 30 nipples.
yeah, it was a representation
Yeah.
of
Oh man, you
my
just
mother.
disrupted what I was. Hang on. What I was doing, and I went to send a message to everybody, and I wrote LVB instead of KVB. So sorry, that was just an oopsie. Hello everybody.
Like,
All right. So this is from Flower of Light on YouTube. There's only 551 subscribers. I like channels like that.
yeah,
That's where the most of the truth comes from, if you
yeah,
didn't know.
it's true.
So this, I might as well read this, huh? Because it's just playing it. Let me, So Atlantis, Erie, following the path of the Elatian ancestors to Egypt, or the land of alchemy, Kim, right? Which is Kim or Chem. Some just so you can see the alignment from um, Ireland all the way across to Egypt. You see the alignment right here. So the Emerald Tablets of Thoth from Atlantis or Erie, Ireland, the Emerald Isle. And it says, I, Thoth, the Atlantean, master of mysteries, keeper of records, set down for the guidance of those that are to come after. And these records of the mighty wisdom of great Atlantis. I'm sorry. So on the island of Undal, in a time far past, I began this incarnation. So Thoth is the teacher of men, is of all. Long time ago, I in my childhood lay neath the stars, long buried Atlantis, dreaming of mysteries far beyond men. Right. So they say parts of Atlantis is in the bottom of the ocean
Yes.
along the Ireland or Ireland shores, the shores of Ireland. They have pyramids, but the one of the oldest ancient buildings, even older than the pyramids on the planet, is this right here, right? We're going to talk about that here in a minute.
Oh, that's not the guy's house?
Yeah.
No,
I
I
thought it
think
was
this,
his house. I was thinking, what a cool house.
yeah, these are like the mound builders.
Yeah. Like monk mounds, right?
Yeah. So I grew there from my child into manhood, being taught by my father, the elder, the mysteries. This is how they did the uh, initiation schools, right? This
Yeah.
is like this, what they would call today the seminary schools, except for not everyone got in.
It says opening the Terra Stargate Island.
And it says, free was I of the halls of Amenti, bound not by death to the circle of life. Far to the stars I journeyed until space and time began as naught. But outstripping in science, they, all of the races, mighty in wisdom, sons of the stars, long time I paused, watching their wisdom, saw them create from out of the ether cities of gigantic, of rose and gold, formed forth from the primal element base of all matter, the ether, far flung.
Created out of Ethan.
Yeah, right. Let me speed this up just a hair. Gradually from the kingdoms of Atlantis passed waves of consciousness that had been one with me, only to be replaced by spawn of a lower star. In obedience to the law, the word of the master grew into flower. Downward into the darkness turned the thoughts of the Atlanteans. All right. So over the world then broke the great waters, drowning and sinking, changing Earth's balance. That's what happened. They went underwater. So gathered I then my people and entered the great ship of the master. Upward we rose into the morning. Dark beneath us lay the great temple. Fast we fled toward the sun of the morning until beneath us lay the land of the children of Kim, like Chem, K-I-M, or Khem, Egypt. Blasted I then to a path of Amenti to so that I might retain. Wow, that blasted I then to the path of Amenti so that I might retain my powers, living from age to age, a son of Atlantis, keeping the wisdom, preserving the records. Raised over the passage, I, a mighty pyramid. There in the apex, set I the crystal, sending the ray into the time space, drawing the force from out of the ether, concentration upon the gateway to Amentia. So we see the pyramid right here, and at noon, see how it looks like a pathway to heaven,
Yep,
the highway to heaven.
it does.
You see how
Like a
this when
road.
the sun hits right at the top of the pyramid. So build they then the halls of Amenti that they might dwell eternally there, living with life to eternity's end. All right. Deep in the halls of life grew a flower, flaming, expanding, driving backward the night, placed in the center a ray of great potence, life-giving, light-giving, filling with power all who came near it. Right. And why are these? Oh, these are just some of the pictures of ancient writing found in West Virginia, the Celtic or Celtic. They used,
Celtic.
yeah, yeah, the K and the C are pronounced the same. Identified in one. Right. How long ago was this?
That's ancient, but they found it written in Gaelic, which the old Gaelic, which is the alphabet only had 17 letters.
Right, 17.
17.
Right, we've talked about that before.
Yes.
Which brings us to Q, right? Which is also covered in the Irish wisdom preserved in the Bible and pyramids. They talk about the word anon and they talk about Q.
Yes.
So we want to, where is, so here's some of the pyramids that we're talking about. I'm going to play some of them as we listen to some of these recordings, but I don't know if these are some of the older ones. Maybe this isn't the video. This is one right here, it looks like.
To it here have been well shaped. And of course, if you think of something built in the 1830s and so on, you would think that it was built fantastically, but just as much as some of the old pyramids were in their stonework. We of course looked at not pyramids, but a lot of other stonework in ancient times with their geometric shapes and things like that that are also very revealing that these people apparently could do it any way
Okay.
that they wanted to. But this one here is a 9-meter tall replica of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And Richard Wesley Bernard visited Egypt way back in the early 19th century. And he likely got inspiration from his tomb and his trip and things that he found out about heritage and so on like that. And so he ended up making a pyramid for his family in the mausoleum, originally for him, which would have been grandpa and great grandpa. It's a pyramid. But that's not the only one that's been found here. And so there's a couple of them. One known as the Bora Pyramid. Yeah. And it's found in the La Bora Discovery Park that's been found there. And I guess with its discovery, it shows it. It's well worn down and it's not perfectly made in the way like that. But it does look a lot like that one that I showed you that was made in Australia. And then they have hieroglyphics near it and all these other connections showing you that the Egyptians perhaps went around a little farther than we would think in a modern time. Of course, that's probably because everybody choked out the idea of early boating. I mean, whenever I was a kid, they had the idea that Noah had the first boat or something, and that nobody had a boat that was seaworthy until well after, whenever we can just look at pictures and go, that's a seaworthy boat right there. In fact, Thor Heyerdahl took a reed boat like the ancient Sumerians and Egyptians did, and took it all the way across the Atlantic with the Kon-Tiki expeditions that he did, really proving that it was possible, even if you're not using a straight wooden boat and all those type of things, you could actually make it on a boat that was made out of reeds. This Bura pyramid here, though, has been found, and it's really not too far away from the other one, and not too large. It's 8 meters wide, 6 meters tall, so it's a little smaller or whatever. And Eileen McDonough, assisted by Mark Wouters from Belgium, looked through this and saw what it was, and it tabulated it and documented it. And again, it's not too far away. You know, they're some 13 kilometers apart, or a little over 6 miles apart, so not too.
Do y'all see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so y'all see it right here. The map. Kilcormac. Oh, look, there's Blue Ball.
Nice.
Holy. Let's continue.
So again, pyramids are all over the world, and it would be an awfully good idea to take and look into this for yourself. The only real place that there aren't any pyramids found is in western sub-Saharan Africa, and ironically, that's the people who keep trying to claim that they built the Egyptian pyramids, and they were the Caucasian Egyptians and not themselves, which is of course extremely self-exposing. But if you think that's it, or the idea they wanted to claim Cleopatra lately, who is actually, of course, a Macedonian queen from the time of Ptolemy after Alexander the Great, which apparently they weren't well aware of, because that makes that an impossibility. But they tried to release it as a documentary showing you the Egyptians were a Bantu people somehow, and so was Cleopatra. In fact, Ptolemy in the movie, or documentary as they tried to call it, was also that. All of that's of course well attested to as being a falsehood and just jealousy run rampant.
All right, so I just wanted to show you some of the pyramids with that. The Scots and Irish of Appalachia, where did they come from, right?
Right.
So we're going to play this one. Then we're going to get into the title of tonight's show, Irish Wisdom Preserved in the Bible, and Pyramids from 1923. This book was written, but let me go ahead and get this one ready. It's 126.
A dream of freedom. People from Ireland to the New World. But I'm not talking about the blights and the desperate masses who flocked to New York, Boston, or Chicago. No, the Irish poor I'm talking about today came to our shores over 300 years ago. And the place they found refuge was the misty mountains of Appalachia. This is their story. Now, before I get into it, I would like to pause to humbly ask for a like and a subscribe. Please help us fight the algorithm. Thank you. The saga of the Scots-Irish of Appalachia begins way back in Britain in 1603 with the ascension to the throne of King James VI of Scotland, King James I of England. James was a hugely important figure in the history of Britain in general. It was he who created the so-called United Kingdom. Now, England and Scotland were relatively easy to officially merge politically. It was a done deal as soon as James came to the throne. But James wanted more, just like his predecessors. That is, more permanence, more stability for a lasting Protestant kingdom, and he implemented a number of changes and new laws to get that. Much of which involved promoting the Anglican Church as the official state church throughout his realm. But you could argue that the biggest geopolitical problem James had, which he inherited from his predecessors, was Ireland. Parts of Ireland had been possessions of the English crown since the late 1160s, when Anglo-Norman barons invaded and carved out petty fiefdoms. In 1171, King Henry II claimed dominion over the entire island, though it was actually
How
Yep.
can y'all hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, you see how King James is connected at that given time in history with Ireland?
Yeah.
And how they plucked some of their scriptures or their wisdom out, put that into the collection of the King James Bible that we have today. And this goes all the way back to 1100s, right? And then the 1213 was when King John lost the keys. He gave them up to Peter. Peter gave them up to the Pope. Then Rome came into play. This is all connected. When they say all roads lead back to Rome, it's even our own heritage, all right? Irish, Scottish, you name it.
Vikings.
Vikings. Right. So take note, King James. We're going all the way back tonight to about 1100.
pretty tenuous from the start. Now, much later, in 1541, Henry VIII was proclaimed officially King of Ireland by the Irish Parliament and entered a long-running war with the Gaelic chiefs. Henry's daughter, Elizabeth, inherited that quagmire. And Henry and Elizabeth had good reason to both fear and seek control over Ireland. The Catholic Gaels, besides fighting the English for their own sake, would also happily harbor Catholic enemies from abroad, especially Spain. For the Brits, it felt like there was a dagger being held right at their throat. Then, in 1593, an even hotter conflict called Tyrone's Rebellion, or the 9 Years' War, erupted. This pitted a confederacy of Irish clans, backed by the Spanish, against the Tudors. Well, by 1603, the Irish had been defeated, and one of the fallouts of that was that many rebel Ulster lords fled the country, leaving their lands to the English. So for James, this was a great opportunity. What followed was a period called the Plantation of Ulster, and it lasted from 1605 all the way through 1697. It was a series of organized settlements in Northern Ireland. Technically, this was not the first time such a scheme had been attempted, but it was the most effective and the most long-lasting for sure. The British Crown offered land grants to anyone willing to settle in the counties of Antrim, Down, Armagh, Tyrone, Donegal, Cavan, Fermanagh, and Derry. For many Scots, particularly from the lowlands, this seemed like a golden opportunity to improve their economic situation, especially people who happened to be landowners already. For many, it also promised greater religious freedom. While the United Kingdom was officially Protestant, the early Presbyterians were often discriminated against by their neighbors. So as many as 200,000 Scots crossed the North Channel to settle in Ulster during this 90-year period. By the 1630s, there were about 20,000 male adult English and Scottish settlers in Ulster, which implies to historians the total settler population could have been as high as 80 or 150,000. It should be noted that this was all technically based on personal initiative. While the British Crown encouraged and cooperated with the immigrants, it was fully a private venture. The landlords were in it for the profit. But if you were not part of the landed class, Ireland was not as free as you had hoped for. The majority of the immigrants lived as sharecroppers, working the estates of the landowners. They couldn't own land themselves, and they had no political voice at all. And ironically, though many came seeking religious freedom, they were required to tithe to the Anglican Church. Pretty galling. Now, at the same time, a unique form of Gaelic culture was sprouting as the new Ulster residents intermingled with the native Irish, and this was the legacy that their descendants would carry to the New World. In the 1690s, a tragic famine caused a new wave of Scottish immigration to Ulster, which resulted in Scottish Presbyterians becoming the de facto majority community. However, despite their numbers, they were still often the victims of discrimination, both by their overlords and by their neighbors who were Catholic. and they were still denied political power. Population pressure and the greed of the landholders caused rents to skyrocket, making times even worse. And resentment of the Church of England was as bad as ever. Many of these common people began contemplating moving to a land that actually did maybe promise economic opportunity and real religious freedom, North America. So starting in the early 1700s, a group that would come to be called the Scotch-Irish, or the Scots-Irish, began migrating to the New World in large numbers. The first immigration wave of 1718 was only about 700 people, mainly Presbyterian farmers and merchants from the Bon and Foyle valleys of Ulster. The Bon Valley group settled in the frontiers of Maine and New Hampshire, while the Foyle Valley group settled in Massachusetts. These were the first, but not the last. By the decade's end, 2,600 more had arrived in New England. But others arrived in Virginia and spread out across the Carolinas. Before the American Revolution, more Scots-Irish immigrated to the continent than almost any other group. And by the 1770s, an estimated 250,000 individuals lived in the American colonies. The majority of Scots-Irish were subsistence farmers. Like other immigrants, they were led to the New World by the promise of cheap land. But more so, they sought a degree of isolation, so as to practice their religion finally in peace and avoid those landlords. This made the frontiers of the colonies especially attractive. Anywhere the white man was pushing into Native American land, anywhere resources were thin, the soil difficult to work, or the weather harsh, the Scots-Irish found a home. In fact, many colonies actively recruited these immigrants, offering the desperate newcomers a cheap frontier piece of land in hopes of creating a buffer between colonial civilization and hostile indigenous tribes. And nowhere did this work out better than in the southern Appalachians. Here, the Scots-Irish thrived in a very humble, but also a sustainable lifestyle. They also developed close relationships with indigenous peoples, often including intermarriage. One major arena of cooperation was game hunting and the fur trade. Scots and Scots-Irish often made a living as long hunters and trappers, harvesting deer and beaver hides to sell in the cities. The beaver trade was biggest in the north, while deerskin was most common in the south. Gaels traded and worked alongside tribes such as the Creeks, the Cherokees, the Choctaws, throughout the 18th century and well into the 19th. And this, of course, is partially why so many Americans today can trace their ancestry back to both Gallic and indigenous peoples. Just one great example of this is James Adair. Born in County Antrim, Ireland, his ancestors lived in both Ireland and Scotland at one time. Like many Scots and Scots-Irish of later generations, he left numerous offspring among the Cherokee. Although Adair was considered a diplomat and a peacemaker among the southern tribes, today he's most remembered primarily as a recorder of indigenous history. In fact, Adair's History of the American Indians, published in London in 1775, is still considered an invaluable account of tribal manners, customs, and language. Scots-Irish immigrants played a strong role during the Revolutionary War, too. Just one example is the Battle of Kings Mountain, South Carolina, October 7, 1780. Here, descendants of Scots-Irish immigrants to Tennessee and Virginia were instrumental in defeating Loyalist militia forces. This was actually a huge deal. Thomas Jefferson later called the battle the turn of the tide of success. So, where are the Scots-Irish today? Well, frankly, they're all over the country. However, the home of the culture they created is still, of course, Appalachia. For instance, today, North Carolina has the largest percentage of Scots-Irish ancestry of any state, with 2.9% of the population claiming that heritage. South Carolina and Tennessee follow at 2.4%. The isolation and, frankly, the poverty of Appalachia made for a unique distillation of elements. Appalachian quilts tell stories in each design. Appalachian foods like chow chow, hoe cakes, chicken fried steak, biscuits and gravy, and fiddleheads are loved by millions. And not to mention, there's also moonshine. Just remember that if you have to pay taxes on it, it ain't shine. Appalachian fiddle music and bluegrass lifts us up and connects people directly to generations long gone. Buck dancing echoes the Irish folk dances of 300 years ago. And finally, there's a certain attitude that these people inherited from those Gallic ancestors all that time ago. We as Americans like to think of ourselves as no-nonsense, pragmatic, honest, down-to-earth, and just a touch suspicious of authority. I won't say the Appalachians invented that, but they sure as heck live it. Supporting your family by going down in a coal mine every day will do that to you. And that sense of mutual aid, of putting family and community first, is absolutely something they inherited from their Gallic ancestors. So, if you're of Scots-Irish descent, stand proud. If you love Appalachian culture, I hope you'll consider learning a bit more about its diverse roots way back 300 years ago. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Obviously, this is a very complex topic and it's hard to encapsulate. If you are of Scots-Irish descent and you have family stories or bits of history you love, please share them in the comments. I would love to read them. And if you're interested in more history of Irish culture and the diaspora, check out this playlist over here. Have a great day.
Good. Nick.
Okay. So he said 300 years ago, and we had talked about the book, the Voyage of Saint Brendan, which was even further back, where he talks about when he came over here. He was an Irish monk, came over here, and there was people already here that spoke Gaelic.
Was he an Irish monkey? Because there's some monkeys that are missing.
One monkey, right? Yeah. Hey, and yeah, and he said that they were lived amongst the natives. So there you go. And then also Abraham Lincoln, during the war, he got the people from the Appalachian Mountains down, and they were shocked that he spoke Gaelic. So there's a tie to all that.
Talking about Saint Brennan.
Saint Brendan.
Let's go, Brendan.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let me continue. Oh, and they say if you pay taxes on the moonshine, that ain't shine.
Yeah, that was cool.
Is that all you got from that video, Sheepdog?
I got bluegrass is good music.
Yes, it is.
I wonder if they play bluegrass near blue balls. Ah, just playing.
If they do, I'll kick high.
All right, so here we go. We're going to connect some of the Irish wisdom in the Bible with some of the things that people are hearing, terms that people are hearing today, like Q, like
And
anons. That's all Irish terms,
Yes.
terminology,
Yes.
right? And I'm just going to play. This book was written back in 1923 by Connor McDan.
That's a very good book. We posted it several times in the chat.
It's a 7-hour read, so
Yeah, listen to the 7 hour.
I have the
Or
book.
get the book.
I have
is
the
really
book
good.
in hand,
Yeah.
but it's better to get the book and go through it. That way, all this, because I'm just picking out of the book.
And you have it.
Right. I'm just
as a
picking out of a 7-hour reading, just a few things to really try to open people's minds to, from which we came, our heritage, our roots, right? And it's scattered not just in Ireland, but there's more Irish people in America today than there is in Ireland, by 4 times as many.
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, they say the first slaves that were
So
over here were Irish.
So we're connecting this to Atlantis, to Erie, to Ireland.
It was first conceived, nurtured, and cultivated, and from here it spread throughout the entire world. Her sacred literature has been pilfered by Rome, and her learning and mythology handed over and accredited to Greece.
Headed over to Rome. Can you hear me, Nadine?
Yeah.
Yeah, everything was handed over to Rome. And then,
Rome took over everything.
right.
Yes.
So just to put you in right where we're picking up at, but that's repeated. We'll go back just a bit, maybe a minute or two to pick up.
It might have been different, and this revival could not have taken place. We are all living witnesses of the great inroads which were made in the ranks of the undergraduates in our own colleges during 1 year and a half of warfare in the late World War. We may well ponder on what the conditions would have been if the war had continued for 10 or 20 years, to say nothing of several centuries of warfare. We all felt keenly the shortages in supplies and the scarcity of many articles of use, in which manufacture ceased owing to the fact that the nation's energy and manpower was being directed to the manufacture and production of the things that were used solely for the prosecution of the war. If this continued for a great length of time, we can easily see where many of the arts and sciences, in fact, culture in general, would have been neglected and, as a natural result, forgotten. When we think what a comparatively small nation Ireland was in those days beside mighty Rome, we may well think it a miracle that learning did not perish from the island altogether. It is to this island we must look for the original source from which our learning and science came. Here is where it was first conceived, nurtured, and cultivated, and from here it spread throughout the entire world. Her sacred literature has been pilfered by Rome, and her learning and mythology handed over and accredited to Greece by these same English Romanist tricksters. In the mythology which they have stolen and handed over to Greece, they have covered up and secretly preserved, for their own knowledge, the very source from which it came. For, as the Greeks said, they knew not where their traditions came from, for they were strange to them. Of course they were strange, and are so yet, except to the knowing ones. The names of the gods and goddesses have been changed to some extent to suit the deception. For instance, Anna is the mother of the Irish gods, and we find her accredited to the Greeks with her temple at Ephesus, her statue that of a female figure crowned and with many breasts to suckle her children. She is presented as conceived and personified by the Irish priest philosophers as the many-breasted mother of the gods. She is the female principle of deity, the great mother which sustains all life. They made her over as Diana, god Anna, and Rome has stolen her and translated her into Saint Anne, the mother of Mary, from the Irish Mura, the sea, and the grandmother of Iesus, or Jesus. It is irrefutable. They have taken the Irish Hercules, the personified sun, from her, meaning above, and Q, meaning wolfhound or swift, the high swift one, and made him into Heracles. Under the guise of the myth, when this god goes to Ireland and places himself on Mount Abbas, Ab, a father or pope, and kills Geryon, an Irish name of the sun, and always connected with the sun worship. The Irish pope and father, representative of the sun, and the head.
Then you pick up. So did we pick up on the Q? Did we get to take the Q? Let's go back to the Q.
In the mythology which they have stolen and handed over to Greece, they have covered up and secretly preserved, for their own knowledge, the very source from which it came. For, as the Greeks said,
What? Source.
they knew not where their traditions came from, for they were strange to them. Of course they were strange, and are so yet, except to the knowing ones. The names of the gods and goddesses have been changed to some extent to suit the deception. For instance, Anna is the mother of the Irish gods, and we find her accredited to the Greeks with her temple at Ephesus, her statue that of a female figure crowned and with many breasts to suckle her children. She is presented as conceived and personified by the Irish priest philosophers as the many-breasted mother of the gods. She is the female principle of deity, the great mother which sustains all life. They made her over as Diana, god Anna, and Rome has stolen her and translated her into Saint Anne, the mother of Mary, from the Irish Mura, the sea, and the grandmother of Iesus, or Jesus. It is irrefutable. They have taken the Irish Hercules, the personified sun, from her, meaning above, and Q, meaning wolfhound or swift, the high swift one, and made him into.
We got it.
Yep. So
Check.
Q means the wolfhound or swift, the high swift one, right?
Good. We good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You know, Taylor Swift. They mentioned Swift a lot.
Under the guise of the myth, when this god goes to Ireland and places himself on Mount Abbas, Ab, a father or pope, and kills Geryon, an Irish name of the sun and always connected with the sun worship, the Irish pope and father, representative of the sun and the head of his worshippers on earth, he steals cattle and brings them to Italy. Do we not here find a hidden allusion to the fact that the new Heracles took possession of the Irish papacy and the rest of the plunder he brought to Italy as cattle? The myth states that Hercules went to Erythea, an island somewhere in the remote west beyond the Pillars of Hercules, where was a giant named Geryon, Irish Grayon, the glowing aspect. When Hercules reached the island, he placed himself on Mount Abbas. Geryon has cattle, which at night he keeps in a dark cave in the remote west. Hercules slays Geryon and ships the cattle into the vessel of the sun, and landing them safely drives them through Iberia, Gaul, and across the Alps into Italy. From Murray's Manual of Mythology, page 292 through 293. Those writers do not mention the fact that Era was the island in the west and the home of sun worship referred to in the myth. Erythea is but a name for Era under camouflage spelling. The root of the word is Lar, the west, the Western Isle, behind which the sun sets. The goddess Ceres is also Irish and means the earth. There is no letter K in the Celtic alphabet, and C has the sound of the English K. The word in Irish is pronounced Ceres, while in English it has the soft sound as Ceres. This difference in spelling and sound has been taken advantage of and utilized in carrying out the deception. We declare without fear of successful contradiction that Ireland is the homeland of these myths and the island alluded to in the West. Even Olympus, the seat of the Greek gods, is a compound Irish name with a Greek ending. It is formed by combining the words olam, a doctor or professor of science, and phys, wisdom, hence Mount Olympus, the mount of wisdom and the seat of the gods. For, of course, the gods are full of wisdom. This seat has been translated to Greece from Ireland. Sacian at Tara was Mount Olympus, or, as the name implies, the head or seat of wisdom, the supreme pope. It never was in Greece. The whole scheme is quite plain and clear when it is pointed out. The wonder is that somebody did not discover it before. Now, as it is all plain, especially to the scholar who can read and translate Irish and recognize its idioms, a new perspective appears before us. The name Tara implies the father, and read it the other way and it spells Arhat, a divine man. We are led to believe that this deception was well known to Lord Bacon, for he said, quote, "The mythology of the Greeks, which their oldest writers do not pretend to have invented, was no more than a light air which had passed from a more ancient people into the flutes of the Greeks, which they modulated to such descents as best suited their fancies." End quote. Atlantis, page 283. It is no surprise at all to us that a plot was hatched up against Bacon and that he was put to death. He gave out too much to be tolerated by unscrupulous and designing persons. Such candor and plain speaking was quite contrary to the purpose of the English government and hierarchy, and such frankness, if not suppressed, would be fatal to the statecraft and policy of the men who were shaping England's future in that ambitious age. This may have been the cause of his being put to death, for he betrayed state secrets, although malfeasance in office was the charge made against him. However, we still see the successor of those men sitting in the House of Lords as my Lord Bishop, keeping in close touch with the British state. Ireland has been terribly mistreated through the selfishness of Rome and England. I hope that in this enlightened age, when the spirit of inquiry is broad in search of truth, that men and women will not let prejudice or preconceived ideas formed in the absence of fuller knowledge stand in the way of the acceptance of the truths herein stated, though called to their attention for the first time. It surely is time, in the name of righteousness, that justice be done, and, as far as possible, that the great wrong may be redressed by allowing the great Aryan Mother, metaphorically speaking, to arise to her feet and to set her own house in order. Scholars and investigators have been very much led astray in the past by accepting as facts Roman and British fiction dressed up in the sober and matter-of-fact garb of history. Those inventors of history would have us direct our attention to any other country than to Ireland. Such complete silence on the part of the arch-conspirators surely did arouse a just suspicion, which upon investigation has yielded such splendid and most convincing proofs of the foulest plot in all human annals. This plot not only comprehended the pilfering of all of the appurtenances of the Irish Church of Iessa, the Bible, Savior Iessa, the Bible, Savior Iessa, Jesus, property and institutions, literature, etc., but
Because 9 is most high. That's the ninth letter is the I, right? Isa, ISA is the same was was what they would
Oh,
call
Jesus.
Jesus today.
Yes.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, did y'all get that?
Got it.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure some. It's a lot to get when I haven't really studied this kind of stuff before. That's all.
Yeah, if you haven't even went down this or even and this is just the first time you're hearing it, then you're probably yeah. But so but you have heard of Jesus spelled with an I, right?
Yeah.
And you said,
Isa, right? Right here. So this goes all the way back to Ireland, right?
this plot not only comprehended the pilfering of all of the appurtenances of the Irish Church of Iessa, the Bible, Savior Iessa, the Bible, Savior Iessa, Jesus, property and institutions, literature, etc., but also the suppression of the Irish language, and finally, the annihilation or dispersion of the race. We have been told through Roman and British sources that our learning came from some Asiatic country, perhaps Assyria, Persia, or Arabia, Greece, or Egypt itself. Any one of these countries would serve equally well the purpose of the arch plotters who came so near to killing off the Irish race that only a small remnant of it was left to survive at one time. They were so reduced in numbers and circumstances that there was no thought in the minds of the English rulers of those days that they would ever again increase in numbers or advance in enlightenment to any extent, or at least ever be able to offer any serious resistance to the English rule in Ireland. The priests were employed in writing and concocting a false history, one that would not contain any mention of the nature of her former greatness, or the achievements and discoveries for which the whole civilized world is indebted to her. The very discoveries of the arts and sciences, credit for which discoveries would make any people great, were denied her in the new quote-unquote histories, and the credit has been given mainly to Greece, with other transfers already mentioned. But we say that it was in Ireland that our civilization arose, and that it was there that the cereals were developed from the grasses. It was on this island that barley was first grown, the grain that is particularly associated with the life of an abstemious priesthood. Here we find also the birthplace of mathematics, geometry, navigation, astronomy, medicine, chemistry, and the arts which are commonly called Egyptian. British lexicographers and others taking their cue from them in giving the derivation of the word chemistry refer us to Egyptian, Greek, Latin, or even a Dutch or German root for it. But Cleland, quoted in Webster's dictionary, derives it from the Celtic root word chem, or chem, C-E-H-E-M, fire, which is the true derivation, as fire is the chemical agency in all nature. The Celtic master adepts established that science on its true basis. It was in Ireland that the sciences were brought to perfection, and the names under which this fact is masked, such as Egyptian, Chaldean, Phoenician, Cushite, Ethiopian, etc., are only names devised by the priests to deceive. This will be shown later on. Ireland in those days was the mistress of the seas and a great commercial and trading nation of the world. Her vessels and intrepid seamen visited the harbors and ports of every sea where trade and barter was carried on. See Donnelly's Atlantis. Atlantis is the name under which these plotters have sought to sink Ireland and bury her great past in the oblivion of the bed of the ocean. The name Atlantis was formulated for this very reason and to secretly signify and commemorate her past. The word Atlantis signifies the illustrious land of wisdom. It is a compound Irish name composed of 3 words and justifiably applied to Ireland, but it has been done secretly by the British priests of Rome, as one may infer from the fact that they have this Isle of Atlantis lying at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. At means illustrious, lan means land or church, and tis means wisdom. It is a camouflaged name for the sacred island and the great Magian priesthood which was established there, whose ruler was at the head of all organized religion and the leader of all who worshipped the supreme deity. The deception practiced has been successful for a long time, but it could not last forever. The connection of the priest and myth at last became apparent, and the solution of the riddle of history was found, and the fiction is exposed. The people of this island discovered the mariner's compass and had it in use from remote ages. The story that the compass came from China or that the Portuguese obtained it from Mohammedan sailors on the coast of Africa is fictitious and is similar to other fictions which have been put into circulation by either credulous or very designing persons. Their voyages to Iceland alone is presumptive evidence sufficient to establish that fact, for in later times, when the first Northmen visited that distant island, they found evidence that Irish monks had been there long before. Their long voyages across the Atlantic Ocean to both North and South America is further presumptive evidence to confirm our belief in this fact. The voyages of those Phoenicians were not haphazard or dependent on a guess. The communication between Ireland and both Americas, North and South, was constant and sustained. The extensive and, for that time, highly advanced civilization which they established on both those continents amply warrants this belief. The remains of their works are in our own country, but much more so in Mexico, Yucatan, and South America. Investigation and research will prove the truth of these statements. The monuments still remaining in those countries are unmistakable proofs as to who their authors were. The existence of both Sphinx and pyramidal remains in Yucatan is not due to mere coincidence or chance. The art of music was developed by them and cultivated to a greater extent than in any other country. It was truly the homeland of music. The proof of this fact remains yet in evidence after centuries of more or less neglect in the fact that of the 34,000 tunes known in European music, a little more than 17,000 are of Irish origin. This fact of itself affords a most wonderful testimony for the psychologist and the thinker of the past accomplishments of this people in the art of music. It is the same with a race as it is with an individual. It requires time to develop any gift or art, and the fact that they still possess it to such a degree, after such a long period of national decadence and neglect, proves, by its being there in such wonderful measure, that it is the result of generations of past culture.
All right, so that is that chapter. We're going to go into this chapter.
Oh, I'm not ready for the next chapter.
Deal with the music.
Yeah, like Glendia and the music is all connected, Bill.
Yeah,
Just gotta remember.
that was that one. This one is.
I posted the book you can get on Amazon called The Irish Wisdom Preserved in Bible and Pyramids. It's a really good
This is a
book.
reading from the book, right? So we
Yes.
are going over. We're talking about.
Thank you. Yeah, I found the other one, the one with that gentleman right before this.
Here,
It
let me
was in the
show these.
links. You had them in links.
Oh,
Check out
thank
these.
you.
So before we get into the next part, let me show you all some of the pictures that I captured. All right, can y'all see that?
We're looking at chapter 5.
Oh, hold on. Let me switch screen here. Go to StreamYard. Really? All right, let's check out the pyramids real quick, and then we'll get into the next piece. How about now? This is
Nothing.
in Ireland.
Nothing yet.
Oh,
It's
share
not
screen.
strong.
And
You,
cheating
you,
is just misbehaving like crazy. I don't know what's going on with that.
The energies.
here you go. All right, pay attention.
I will.
Here's the pyramids, Ireland. More pyramids. Of course, I got to put the graveyard around it so nobody messes with it. But this could go deeper than just what you see above.
Those are here in America.
Ireland.
Ireland. There's a bunch here.
Yeah, there's some here too. Yeah, just showing Ireland right now. All right. This one looks like somebody's barbecue pit in the backyard. Here's some more. All right.
They live in those, or maybe they stored stuff in there. Little doorway.
This is in another country, but this one was pretty crazy looking.
Yeah.
It's like a sundial. It looks like a big crystal at the top and a circle. Circle sun equals 1 year. Dial. So I guess where the shadow is the season. See that out here?
Yep.
Yeah. Kind of like that. Doesn't that look like a sword? Sword and a stone. This is in Ireland. This is pretty massive. Here's more, another hut.
Hey, can you go back to the one before that? It looked like there was a bunch of people dressed in white. Or was that stones?
Stones.
And that's people dressed in black.
Yeah, those are tourists. These are.
Yeah, the circles, they used to, remember they used to walk in circles around like ponds and stuff in England. A lot of the movies, they would walk around. They would call it taking a stroll or something like that.
Here is outside. This shows you how big that place is. Can you see it? It's
Yeah.
just outside. That's the wall. But you can't really tell from the aerial shot.
It's huge.
Irish pyramids. Right.
Yeah, these are the man-made pyramids, like little people like us, and then you've got those huge ones.
Yep.
I don't know what the hell this is. What is what is that? Sowen? Oh,
So
Sowen.
it comes from Ireland.
It is the
Halloween
third
comes from
harvest,
Ireland. Yes.
and it means summer's in in uh, Gaelic. It falls on
Gaelic.
Halloween night and is considered the end of the Celtic cycle year. End of the Celtic year. So tomorrow night. On this day, the great god of the sun dies and leaves his widow, the goddess Crone, to mourn him until Yule, winter solstice 1221, when he will be reborn and light will return. With the sun god gone, night grows longer, plants and trees die back, and all around us freezes and hardens in the chill. Right.
Right.
So
That's
on
where.
Samhain night, we stand at the space between the seasons and in the heightened magic that connects the realms of the living and the dead. Right. So when the 1221 is when the sun is at its furthest point away from the equator. Then the third day it rises, 1225, Christmas, and it's heading back towards the equator for
Right.
spring equinox.
So it originated from Ireland. Got to remember, everything that we call evil was not. It's the Roman Catholic Church that called it evil.
Right. You have to learn, unlearn, and then learn again. So it goes from good to bad to good.
Yep.
You get
Yep.
whiplash I've had whiplash already 4 times. I don't
But yeah, the because the Roman Catholic Church, that's Abraham Lincoln's pyramid.
Where is that at?
One. Yeah, he has a pyramid. Let's see.
Geez, I'm getting embarrassed, guys. I think you guys need to go out and make some bigger pyramids. Those giants are going to come back and just point and giggle.
Right.
What? You guys can't do no better than that.
Right? Let's see.
All right. Let's go to that.
Chapter 5: The Bible, an Irish book altered and adapted by British Roman transcribers. Although our Christian peoples in the mere advanced countries of today have denounced Jewish pogroms and deliberately planned murders of Jewish people in some of the countries of Eastern Europe during the World War, what can they think of the wholesale deportations and murders and suffering inflicted upon the people of what is now called Syria, when they knew that the Roman Church put her plan in operation to charge them with having crucified the ideal Savior Jesu, the Sun God, and scattered them broadcast over the world? But
Are we supposed to be reading right now? This what's on the screen because you're just scrolling.
were actually real places and in existence.
Say again?
They just see you scrolling.
Yeah, can you hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know if we were supposed to see the words or not.
No, you don't have, there's no words to see unless you're reading the closed caption. Are you reading the
Yeah,
closed
yeah, I'm reading the closed but I mean, not everybody has to, but for a first timer.
caption? Real quick. Hold on.
Chapter 5. The Bible, an Irish book altered and adapted by British Roman transcribers. Although our Christian peoples in the mere advanced countries of today have denounced Jewish pogroms and deliberately planned murders of Jewish people in some of the countries of Eastern Europe during the World War, what can they think of the wholesale deportations and murders and suffering inflicted upon the people of what is now called Syria, when they knew that the Roman Church put her plan in operation to charge them with having crucified the ideal Savior Jesu, the Sun God, and scattered them broadcast over the world? By dispersing these people, she cleared the way for the renaming of places in Judea to make it appear that such a man as Jesus had lived there, that these various places, said to have been the scenes of his life and travels, were actually real places, and in existence on the map with these names. It is something awful to contemplate, but the Roman Church did this thing, and the people whom she punished thus, and who bear the undeserved stigma to this day for crucifying the Savior, are as innocent of such a deed as the child unborn. The Roman fathers employed most ingenious methods to establish the authenticity of Jesus. To that end, they had stories written up purporting to be by certain men, some of whom denied his godlike powers, while there were other witnesses who declared that he worked wonders. Her scribes also wrote up accounts of those who were supposed to be his companions, but written in such a way that their stories would not agree in every minute detail, but near enough so that it would not appear that one account was a copy of the other. It must be as a witness giving a different and distinctly individual narration of the facts as seen by himself. These trained fabricators considered that no two or more persons would write the facts regarding an event in real life in just the same identical words. So it was thought best to have a little variation inserted in the accounts as given by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So that is how we find it arranged in those 4 books by the Roman doctors. If Luke tells of an event in one way, John tells it a little differently, and so with Matthew and Mark. Luke records that the miraculous draught of fishes was made at the beginning of the ministry of Jesus. John says that it did not happen until after he had risen from the dead. John says that although the number of fish was great, the net was not broken, and Luke says that their net did break. Matthew says that Jesus told the 12 apostles to go and preach and commanded them to provide neither gold nor silver, nor brass in your purses, nor scrip for your journey, neither 2 coats, neither shoes, nor yet staves. Mark is made to mention the same incident, just a little bit different and with a slight contradiction of his infallible brother scribe. He says that Jesus commanded them to take nothing for their journey save a staff only. Like inconsistencies, which are so many in these 4 Gospels, stamp them as counterfeit books. In fact, the very names of the authors to whom these books are ascribed are forgeries and misleading. They were intended so to be, for it was claimed that they were Hebrew, while the plain truth is that they were taken entire from the ideals of the Irish Gospels with the nomenclature slightly changed in order to escape detection. It is not my purpose to give an extensive elucidation or explanation of the Bible in this chapter or work, but as the Irish Bible and Irish Great Pyramid of Iessa were closely related in spiritual and symbolic significance as agencies and landmarks for the guidance of wayfaring mankind in its progress upward towards spiritual enlightenment and regeneration, For this reason, I feel I must touch upon this phase in my theme specifically, if only briefly. As I have shown by citations that forgeries were committed, I shall prove by explanations that our Bible is an Irish book of pre-Roman times, and an out-and-out theft without acknowledgement from the Irish Church of Iessa. Any competent person who knows the Irish language cannot fail to recognize it. Our present version of the Bible, then, is an authorized adaptation from the original Irish scriptures with alterations and additions made from time to time by Roman and British churchmen in secrecy as they deemed it necessary and advisable to do so. The following agreement in the writings under the names of Matthew, Mark, and Luke regarding the impression made upon the people by the teachings of Jesus is an example which shows plainly the work of the forging priests. It would be impossible for such agreement to have occurred in the original writings of any three men writing individually and independently on any subject whatsoever. But in fabrication from the older works and collaborating, the priest scribes simply blundered and made each of the three witnesses write down and repeat the same identical expression in copy as to how Jesus impressed the people. Matthew says, "They were astonished at his doctrine." Mark says, "They were astonished at his doctrine." Luke says, "They were astonished at his doctrine." Many authors and critics have commented upon and pointed out the inaccuracies and inconsistencies of the scriptures, and many of them have stated their firm belief that they were copied from older books, but none of them could obtain a clue beyond a surmise, which was far from the truth, and none of them was able to produce the real facts which were necessary to convince. But the work that they did has helped and made it possible to accomplish the desired end. They found so many flaws in it, which the jugglers did not cover up, that it kept the question open until the solution was found. The true source has escaped discovery until now. At least it has never before been disclosed to the knowledge of mankind as a whole. The Irish scriptures were altered and adapted to the scheme of the church in order to make the fable of Iessa an historical and geographical fact. Names from the scriptures were given to places in Syria during its occupation by the Crusaders to bear this out. It also suited the purpose of British statecraft to obscure and suppress all evidence of the greatness and culture of the Irish nation, than whom no people in the world's history have reached greater heights, both spiritually and intellectually, nor have suffered greater injustice at the hands of priestly impostors or political oppressors. The men who were engaged in executing this literary fraud committed as well the audacious crime of completely effacing all evidence of credit due the Irish nation for the most brilliant and glorious service to civilization and human enlightenment. It almost passes belief that a fraud so stupendous could escape so long without discovery. But when we consider the thoroughness and extent to which the plot was carried out, and the magnitude of the forces which were employed in the work, it is not so much to be wondered at, forces such as the Roman Empire with its world power, then the Roman Catholic Church and the British Kingdom with propaganda systematically spread abroad in order to create a false impression of everything pertaining to the past history of Ireland and her people. These are the forces which have perpetrated and profited by this great fraud. The deception is still continued, and the secret jealously guarded by both the Roman Church and Britain from the world at large, but more particularly from the Irish people who have suffered so much from those two adverse forces. The men who executed this plot were acting jointly in the interest of both Rome and Britain. Even to this day, the British government does not encourage, even if it will allow, excavations or investigations to be made about the Hill of Tara in Ireland. Reverend Joseph Wilde in When the World Comes to an End. I will give 2 citations here, with more to follow, to show that the names of many of the characters in the Bible are plainly Irish, and it is because of this fact that the Irish Roman Catholic priests would not allow the Irish Catholics to read the Bible. They were told not to read it, that it was not a sufficient rule of faith. The real reason was that some of the Irish people might recognize the Irish names in a quote-unquote Jewish Bible and ask questions that it would embarrass them to answer satisfactorily. Nevertheless, it is a very astonishing thing that what now appears so clearly fraudulent could have escaped detection for so long a time. There are three main reasons for this. First, that the people are slow to attribute fraud and dishonesty to the clergy. Second, that the Irish Catholics who could speak the Irish language believed, as they were told by the priests, the Bible was brought to them from outside instead of being of Irish origin, and being uninstructed in the principles of man's nature, were not given to investigation or research for spiritual truth. And third, that the field of religious literature has been dominated by the works of professional preachers and other religionists who would have kept up the delusion knowingly, or who took it for granted that the published accounts of the origin of the scriptures were, in the main, true and were originally written in Greek with one single copy in Hebrew, as has always been asserted. It will therefore be a surprise to Bible readers of today who have had no suspicion of this deception to be told that it was through the medium of the Irish language that the true key would be found for the solution of the mystery, the origin of the Bible. The proof of this fact is here given for all mankind to see and know. The first of the two citations to be given in this chapter is from the book of John, chapter 3, 23rd verse. Quote, "And John was baptizing in Anon near to Salem because there was much water there, and they came and were baptized." End quote. In the latest revision of the Bible, the doctors have altered the word Anon and have made it Enon. In the older version, it is Aenon. This is a compound of two Irish words. Aeon, meaning a circle of the sun, a year, and On, also a name of the sun. The complete word itself means the sun. The word on also signifies cause, reason, swiftness, fierceness, eagerness, excellent, noble, good, also wolf dog. These are qualities and attributes associated with and applied to the solar sun, and to the sun god by the Aryan or Irish priests of Iessa. Their theology was based on the idea that the supreme deity
Right. All right. Did y'all hear that? Anon
That crazy name.
near Solemn. Anon
Mhm.
near Solemn.
Mhm.
Jerusalem. Salem, North Carolina. Anon. Anon.
Right. So they said
end quote. In the latest revision of the Bible, the doctors have altered the word Anon and have made it Enon. In the older version, it is Aenon. This is a
What do they say? QAnon.
Anon.
Anons.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It's all Irish.
two Irish words. Aeon, meaning a circle of the sun, a year, and On, also a name of the sun. The complete word itself means the sun. The word On also signifies cause, reason, swiftness, fierceness, eagerness, excellent, noble, good, also wolf dog. These are qualities and attributes associated with and applied to the solar sun, and to the sun god by the Aryan or Irish priests of Iessa. Their theology was based on the idea that the supreme deity never had nor has a name. He is known only by attributes, as the good, or God, holy, most high, etc. And as the solar sun is the center of light and is great representative, or sun, S-O-N, in our system, the sun god is named after the qualities and attributes of some ideas, such as the horseman or charioteer, the strong one, or Samson, or the fierce one, Horus, the heavenly wolf who is eager, swift, and fierce. The Irish, during their sojourn in Egypt, gave the name of On to one of their cities on the Nile. The city of On, the city of the sun, was afterwards called Heliopolis by the Greeks and Romans. Salem is a quote-unquote Hebrew word, but the basis of it is in the Irish word solas, light. As Hebrew is a jargon of the Irish, it follows more or less closely the root it is taken from, as will be seen. So, Salem means the city of God or light. The meaning of this myth is that John, Aen, the sun, was baptizing in Aenon, the city of the sun, near to Salem, the city of God, in the realm of light, the celestial kingdom. Where else could such a being as the pure and perfected man be said to dwell? In this myth, John, Aen, spelled A-E-N, E-I-O-N, and A-I-N, three forms of the word and all pronounced Ain, represents the redeemed and glorified man at the highest stage of spiritual attainment, next to the messianic state, so that in his succeeding life or incarnation here again on earth, he will be the Messiah. In the Irish mythic narrative of the Bible, we see that after John, the prophet and holy man, comes the perfected man-God, the Messiah, Iesa, Jesus. This is an example of the esoteric truth and wisdom which lies hidden beneath the veil of the scriptural allegory as formulated by those inspired Irish adepts. And though they have been denied the credit of authorship through a thieves' compact of silence, their wisdom and their works still exist in both the Bible and Great Pyramid of Iesa. The second citation to prove that the Bible is Irish, purely and unmistakably so, and I defy contradiction, is taken from the books of Mark and Samuel. The Pharisees questioned Jesus because the disciples plucked ears of corn on the Sabbath. He said, quote, "Have ye never read what David did when he had need, how he went into the house of God in the days of Abiathar the high priest, and did eat the shrew bread, which is not lawful to eat but for the priests?" End quote. Mark 2, 24, 25, and 26. The first book of Samuel contains this version of David and the shewbread. Quote, "Then came David to Nob, to Ahimelech the priest. So the priest gave him hallowed bread, for there was no other bread there but the shewbread that was taken from before the Lord." End quote. Chapter 21, 1 through 6. The foregoing is but a cryptic allusion to the perfecting work of the initiate who is engaged in the effort of eradicating from his nature all worldly ambitions and the desires of the flesh for the development of his higher self, the solar body, the God within himself. The word Abiathar, the name of the high priest, is such a plain and easily recognized Irish word that even the uneducated Irishman or Scotsman who is able to speak Gaelic can understand it, and will recognize it at once as a word of Irish or Gaelic speech. It is a compound of two words. The word ab means lord or father, and atar is also the word for father. The two words combined would literally be father, father. The literal sense of it would be head father, for the word ab is applied to the head of a monastery. But the esoteric sense of it is high father or God. The vowel letter I is introduced to connect the two words into one. The Roman British scribe in this instance gives us a compound Irish word, and of course, without the least suggestion that such is the case, makes a play on the name and presents it to us in the English version of the Bible as the name of the Hebrew high
I don't know if everybody can hear it. Yeah, nobody can hear it.
I can't hear it, then.
Well,
Can't hear it.
It's been like a minute. I can't undo the one screen for unmute it, so that's why I didn't know if they could or not.
yeah, let me see.
Pardon, guys.
There we go.
See, my screen's muted. I can't unmute it.
It's all good. I think we got the point there. I didn't mean for it to stop right there.
Yeah, that guy's
I wanted to show
that guy's
here.
a super smarty pants. That guy.
That book was written 100 years ago. Yeah, 1923.
Yeah.
That's what you're hearing from. You're hearing from somebody that was writing a book 100 years ago. They must have been at least, I don't know how old the person was that wrote it, but so that's 150 years if they were 50 years old when they wrote it.
So someone said we need to learn Gaelic. I said yes, we do. The old ancient Gaelic with the 17-letter alphabet. 17 is Q.
Yeah, so I was showing the Anon at 215 mark right here.
And they said that the Hebrew copied from the Irish, right? Copied their alphabet, and they made it what 22 letters, but they just tried that from the Irish.
But it's still our kind of letters. It's not like Hebrew is like a symbol kind of letters.
Yeah, the old Gaelic. I had a picture of it. It looks different, a lot different. It looks kind of like chicken scratches, but I'll see if I can find it. It's ancient Gaelic. Hold on.
Like,
It does.
they're all talking about the sun completing a cycle when they all mark that at a certain time of the year.
Yes,
And some of these, even the oldest ancient tomb I showed a while ago, the really big one,
and
it, the circle one,
like he was saying, the story of Aisa, Jesus, is all esoteric, right? It was of the cosmos, right? That what's going on in the heavens, the sun,
right?
and
The
when the sun
alignment,
falls, and
right?
yeah,
That's all it's talking about, and then
That's where a
repeats.
lot of the gypsies came into play too, right?
yes.
So that's that. I don't know if this is one. Can you hear that?
Hang on a sec. I can't unmute that screen.
Unmute the
What's muted?
screen.
It's the one that I have to mute if I'm going to speak with you. Yeah, I can't. There. Well, now it's gone. Okay.
23rd verse. Quote, "And John was baptizing in Anon near to Salem because there was much water there. And they came and were baptized."
Did you hear it?
Yeah, I could hear the book.
Okay.
That's
Now let me
weird
go.
that it's Anon is from over there.
Yeah.
And you know how that I mean those guys don't mess around when it comes to fighting. Like they just don't. So if it came from over there, that's a whole other layer to the whole thing.
Yes. Yep.
Well, it all started back in 1100. That's what this video was about. When you talk about King James, right here at the very beginning.
Yeah, King James, he Mary Queen of Scots kid?
Yes, that was her bastardized son.
Okay.
Yeah, guys. Allegedly, she had a daughter that was hidden out because really the women were to inherit the kingdom, and he had his own mother killed by the Queen of England, and he got his position. Allegedly, that's how the story goes. Anyway, had her head, the Queen Anne of Scots was beheaded. That was King James' mother.
Yep. So there you go.
Thank you.
This goes back thousands of years, 1,000 years at least. This is 1171. If you wanted, well, what's all that noise? Dang, it sounds like that was magnified in my ear.
Mine too.
Because they're
You need to turn my notifications off. I don't know how to turn it off.
already. So Nadine doesn't know if she's Irish or not.
No, I don't.
You just know she has red hair.
You gotta have Irish in there. The Irish had red, blonde, and
Yeah.
even black, dark black.
Here's some of the writing. Let's pull up straight into it. Chrissy. Here we go. Was this the ancient ruins?
Oh, geez, I had it. I do have them. They're in a bag.
These
Yeah, that's what they look like.
That's got like 26 letters right here.
I know that's not that. I'm just showing you what it kind of looks like, but
Oh,
it goes back further than that. The original is 17 letters. I'm trying to find it still, but
yeah.
I'm gonna find it.
What is this?
Not loudly, not all at once, but slowly. We lost people we thought we'd never lose. Let go of things we thought would last forever. Learned to live with questions that never got answers. Time didn't pause.
Ow!
It didn't ask
Gracie,
if we were okay.
Come on, man.
It just
Gracie,
kept
quit.
moving, and we had to move
Okay,
with
I
it.
got in.
Some of it broke
Gracie,
us. Some
quit.
of it rebuilt us.
We got
But all of it shaped us. And if you're reading this now, you made it. Maybe not unchanged, maybe not as certain, but you're still here, still breathing, still trying, and that means more than you think. Because after everything, you didn't disappear. You grew.
There we go. Sorry. Oh man. So the Irish. They don't Irish Scots, they don't really take a whole lot of shit, do they?
No.
no.
Yeah.
You can kick rocks if you don't like how I talk. I'm gonna keep on talking and walk my walk. Ain't changing my tone, ain't changing my song. I was born this way, been loud too long. You can hate my style, you can roll your eyes, but I ain't slowing down, I was born to rise. So kick them rocks if you don't like how I talk. I'm gonna keep on talking and walk my walk. I've lost some friends, made a few new foes, but that's just life, that's how it goes. I ain't bending over just to please a crowd. If I fall down, I'll fall down proud. I talk my truth, I live my way. Ain't nobody.
There we go. Hold on, buddy. He's in there like that. I need to go outside.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Let me. So that's it. What else you got? She-Bug, is that it? Everybody's quiet tonight.
That's it. I'm still trying to find that
Why?
17-letter alphabet. I had it once.
She just went down a rabbit hole during the show, so.
Well, no, I remembered it and I did have it, but I can't find it now.
What are
It
we
looks
looking
like
for? The
original.
Abraham Lincoln?
The 17-letter Celtic
Oh,
alphabet.
yeah, you can.
It looks like little chicken scratches. It looks like
Oh,
little
yeah,
scratches.
yeah.
You'll find it as soon as you go outside, take the dogs for a wee, and then you'll be like, ah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, thank you very much. KVB, he said thank you too. Because it's a lot, like when you first start. Cause I don't know how many of these people, know this stuff, but I certainly don't. And I'll tell you if I don't know something.
If you're Irish, then you're paying attention, right? And if you
Right.
know who you are, if you're tracing your roots and you're trying to figure out from which you came, then you're probably have been done the research and the things like that. Um, so it's really just exposing the fraud that has taken place over the years. It has everybody at, at each other's throats over names, and you really don't even know the name.
Right. The ancient Celtic was called Ogham.
Ancient Celtic was called what?
Ogham.
What?
Ogham.
What? Spell it?
Ogham. Ogham.
Oh,
Ogham.
Ogham.
Yeah. Ogham.
It's got the ham, the OG ham.
Ogham?
Let's call it
Ogham?
OG ham.
Ogham. Yes.
I think the sheep and I are going to have the biggest problem with this. Ogham?
Ogham.
Yeah,
See this one.
OG
Hold up.
ham.
Let me find one. This one. This isn't the alphabet, but this shows like the writing. But it looks like little. How to describe. This is the ancient. Hold on. So, okay, there we go.
But if it only has
That's
17,
what it looks like.
that 17 isn't so bad.
Yeah, and then later it changed to I think 22.
22, yeah.
Yeah, but they say there's the very few that speak the ancient Gaelic language. It like transformed, I guess, over time,
This looks like
but
some. This
mostly
looks.
up in the Cork region.
This looks like my first grade homework.
Hey, you're smart.
You know how you did the 1, 2, 3, and then you did 4, and then you cross across it, and then made like a 5.
Uh-huh.
That's what it looks like. That's the writing.
Oh, gee whiz.
Oh, All right. Glendia, are you with us?
I'm still here. I'm just taking this all in. I'm part Irish, part Scottish, and supposedly part Cherokee. So this Irish, it's always had me interested. My picture, my avatar, is actually an Irish picture that I had AI to draw up. It's been months ago. And her name is pronounced like Ashling, and it's interesting. It's like a mother goddess like, I guess you could say, or a fairy like. But it's interesting. And it's weird because this had been months ago, and I just liked some Irish music, and I was looking for a like a photo to put with the music. And so I did a little research, and that's what I came up with. And it's a beautiful picture. It looks like nature. She's all lit up, illuminated. It's really pretty. But she has an Irish name, and it's A-I, let's see, A-I-S-L-I-N-G, I think is how it's spelled.
Goddesses, fairies, right, leprechauns, all those different ones, yeah.
Yep. So that's it. Hope everybody enjoyed that. It's a 7-hour reading on a if you listen to there's a 7-hour recording. They're trying to break it down in parts. I'll share the channel out so that you can just do a couple hours at a time or an hour at a time, however much, and they have the different chapters split up. But you can go back and do your own research and find out where ISA,
And that's also in the Essene Gospel of Essenes, is Isa.
right.
Right.
It's even on the coinage.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So we went over this a couple years ago. I don't know if y'all remember. We brought some of this from that book. We also brought the Voyage of Saint Brennan.
Let's go, Brennan.
We'll bring it back. And there's also a thing called Brennan Law that the Irish still use to this day, which is pretty awesome. I have that book too. We'll bring all that.
For the Irish Scots.
Yes.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Love y'all.
Yeah,
Tomorrow's the 303rd day of the year.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
They break the law and walk away while we get punished every day. Judges ignore the Constitution, lawyers twisted into confusion. They swear an oath and violate it. We show the proof, they still debate it. They start the truth, protect their own while we get silence, finding throne. We flipping tables, calling it out. Truth in our minds, no fear, no doubt. They break the law, then hide behind shields. We see it all, we don't yield. We flipping tables, say it loud. No more silence, we're standing proud. We flipping tables, we calling you out. They lie in court, they falsify, then claim immunity when we ask why. They raid our homes, they twist twist the facts, then change the rules to hide the facts. They make the laws, then break them too, but punish us for speaking truth. They use the system to serve their friends, while justice bends and never ends. They protect their own, no matter the crime, while we get charged for speaking our minds. The rulings say one thing, the system does another. We flipping tables for